Hi, this is Alex from phpacademy.org with a video tutorial for the new Boston. Okay, so in this tutorial we're going to take a look at jQuery get HTTP requests. Now this sounds a bit complicated, but essentially all it does is, or all we are doing here, is we are passing a value to a PHP file or another script file, and then we're taking the contents and then showing it to the user. So what we're doing is we're performing, in essence, an AJAX request or an AJAX type request without having to refresh the page. So this is generally what jQuery is used with a great deal for, because it creates a really easy way to perform AJAX-like operations on a page. So I'm going to give you a slight idea of what we're going to be creating. We're going to be creating a form in which we enter, say, a name or a piece of text. We're then going to click like a submit button, and this value is going to be reversed. So we're going to reverse a string. We're just going to be using a simple function inside PHP to reverse a string. We're then going to return this data to the user, but without having to refresh the page. So usually in PHP, you would think about, if you were to think about this, you would perhaps create a form. You would create, say, form action equals, and you'd create a file called something like reverse.php. You'd send the method as, say, get, and you would then go ahead and inside the form create an input type with, say, text, and you would give that a name, and you'd call this string, and you'd then create a button or a submit button, and you'd give that a value. So go, for example. So what this would do is it would take this value here, and it would use get, so it would store it in a get variable, which PHP can then pick up in this reverse.php file. Now, instead of actually submitting the form, we use jQuery to submit the data for us, and we specify which file we want to submit it to. So if you're comfortable with jQuery, even if you've just started learning out, you should be comfortable with taking the value of this text area. So let's go ahead and refresh. You should be comfortable with, when we click this go button, it will you should be comfortable with storing the value of this text area, this text field. Now when we store the value of text field, we can then pass it to a PHP file and return the result in a div just underneath. So let's go ahead and get rid of this form because it's not required in this case. We're using AJAX to handle our events, so we're handling the clicking of this button. We can also change this to a type button. So we have exactly the same form when we refresh, but all we've done is we've just got rid of the form outline of where we send the data to. So now what we need to do is we need to go over to our ajax.js file and take a look at how we sort of create this event when we click the button, and then also getting the value of this string. So we know the name of this is string, and we know the name of this button is nothing at the moment, so I'm going to give it an ID of let's say button, and let me just get rid of name here and give this an ID of string. So we're looking out for the pressing of the button, which is called button, and then we're getting the value of the string, which is called string. So let's go into ajax.js and create our event handler. Okay, so we are choosing to take this button, and we're going to append an event on the end of it, so button.click. So when this button has been clicked, we create a function inside of this, and then once we've done that, we need to look at getting the value of this text area or this text field. So I'm going to create a new variable, and that's going to be called string, and that's going to be equal to, again we're going to use the hash selector to select the ID. So the ID for this input field is string, so we've used that selector, and now we want to say .val. So we're taking the value of this string text field and applying it or putting it into this variable in JavaScript called string. Okay, so now what we can do is we can go ahead and just alert this out to test that it has worked properly. So let's go over to the browser. I'm going to go ahead and type in my name, and I'm going to click go. You'll see that we've got the value Alex that's been returned, which matches what's in here. So we now know that the value string holds the field's contents, essentially. Okay, so now on to the interesting part. We're going to use the get HTTP request to send this string to a particular file. Now we haven't created a PHP file yet. We need to create that, and then we can specify where we want to send it. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new file. I'm going to create a new folder and call this PHP, and I'm going to save this file inside this directory, and I'm going to call this reverse.php, just so we know what the file does. Okay, so now we've got reverse.php, we can leave that alone for a moment and we can start to work on our HTTP request. So we're going to use a $, but we're not obviously using a selector, but we're using .get. Now we create brackets for this, and inside of here we're typically giving this 3 parameters. So I'll just create the parameters, in fact no, I'll talk about them as we go. The first parameter is the page that you want to send a particular set of data to. So in this case it's php/reverse.php. The second parameter is the list of variables you want to send, and these will be accessible by reverse.php by using $_get and then the variable name here.